I've been neglecting my sign language studies, so I should probably spend some time studying up on it. Although I think I've learned a lot just by osmosis, I'm very proud of that. We will have to be careful not to brag about it. Most of the books I brought with me aren't manuals on learning sign language, but studies about different signing dialects. I know Shizune has some secret signals with Misha that only the two of them know the meaning of. After seeing a couple of them, this book caught my eye in the school library. Maybe I should incorporate some examples into my own signing to mess with them, because I'm pretty sure that they have started using their code words more when I started to learn sign language. That'll teach them. After a quick break for a shower, I resumed practicing my signing in the guest room mirror. Yesterday I crashed my fingers against each other pretty hard. Still smarts, and I don't want to repeat of that to happen again. Hearing knocking on the door behind me, and turned to find Hideki standing inside the doorway, staring at me. How polite of him to knock, but usually you don't open the door first. What are you doing? Practicing sign language. How long have you been standing there? I did not see anything. That isn't the point. I don't even know what he means by that. It's not like I was doing something that would be ashamed of people seeing me doing. Although sign language must look strange to most people. I'm only used to it from being around Shizune and Misha so much. I'm brushing up on my sign language, and reading about it too, stuff like the history of it, even though they cover it in sign language class. Your school teaches sign language as a class? Yeah, one of the first things they brought up was that it's not very common to do that. I guess we're very international or something. It looks fun. Well, I wouldn't call it fun. If you do not enjoy this, then it seems like a lot of work to go through just to talk to my sister. Why does everyone keep saying that? Hideki's mouth twitches like he was about to laugh, but he restrains himself. Come to think of it, he hasn't laughed once since I've met him. I could take it as a compliment that he doesn't laugh at me, but I'm curious to see it. Laugh. Why? It was the fastest and most direct way that I could think of to accomplishing my goal. Can you teach me sign language? All of a sudden, motherfucker. He says it plainly, but his body language is nervous, showing that he clearly needs to put some effort in to ask. I guess Hideki likes his sister after all, and I think Misha is a lot more approachable though, so I wonder why he didn't ask her. Secretly, I'm shouting yes on the inside. I had thought he wanted to learn sign language, and I even brought it up, but he had just evaded the subject skillfully. Turns out I was right after all, and I don't really know why this makes me so pleased. Sure. Now that I think about it, I'm not a sign language teacher. I don't even know where to start. In class, I'd be learning stuff gradually over a week. Does Hideki expect me to teach him anything usable in one day? Crash course? The alphabet, you said it was easy. My teacher spent a couple of days giving us a history of sign language. I decided to start off with that to buy some time while I figure out how I can segue into the hard stuff. 5 minutes in, Hideki raises his hand. I don't understand what you're doing. Well, you can't just jump into teaching, you have to ease into it. It's like when you go swimming, you can't just jump in a lake in some movie. I do not swim. It's like scientists managed to create a process to suck out all the hyperactive, infuriating, and childish qualities of a small child, then implant them into his dad, creating a raging jerk dad and leaving behind Hideki. I begin to feel claustrophobic, despite the fact that the guest room is 3 times bigger than my dorm room, and that's just 2 of us in here. It's all in my head. I know it, and I don't care. I still use it as an excuse to move the lesson outside. It's a lot easier. Jesus Christ, it's such a beautiful garden. It's a lot easier to concentrate out here. Even the precious few seconds it took to relocate managed to allow me to sort out my thoughts. There were no questions during this time. Hideki can't seem to talk and walk at the same time. Eventually, however, I start to realize that if I'm going to teach him anything, I have to keep the lesson constantly moving. The second that there's an opening for it, he'll ask a question, which will lead to more questions, and there's no end to it. The second time, he asks me why a certain hand motion means what it does, and I have to reach deep into my memory to look into the etymology, and I don't know about a gesture. I only know about a month longer than him, so I start looking for an out. Hideki, let's take a break. Okay. What is your school like? This kid is a pretty little reporter. But it makes sense for someone his age to be curious, and this is one question I don't mind. What's it like? I never really thought about it. It's on top of this mountain, so it feels kind of isolated and lonely up there sometimes, even though that's why it has a pretty great view. Students there are interesting. Actually, I felt bad at first. You know what kind of school it is, right? Yes. I felt bad because I didn't want to go there. I don't even remember exactly what I was thinking at the time. Probably it was something like a school for crippled people. It would be a depressing place. They were telling me to go be forgotten there. Then everyone was just as living their lives, for the most part, so I felt even worse. It wasn't different at all, so I felt like kind of a jerk. Shizune was the first person I met. She's in most of my classes. Misha, too. They're always together. I guess the school is accommodating enough to pair them up as much as possible. There's this girl in my class, Hanako, who I feel bad for. She has these burns and seems to have a complex about them. But I think she looks fine. She's a cute girl. And friends with Lily, too. You know Lily, right? Does she bring up Hanako? Yes, sometimes. I'm trying to remember who else is interesting. I guess we have a little track star, Ace, who runs on these prosthetics. Then there's this one girl, Rin, who doesn't have arms, but she's a great painter. All her art has this harsh, alive quality. You ever been to Yamaku? You've probably seen some of it hanging around. A little weird sometimes, but I've always heard that the artistic and creative types are like that. That reminds me, the guy who lives across from the hall from me is pretty weird too. But he can be interesting, at least. So what I'm thinking about Shizune's route right now, because we've seen so much of Lily, and we saw Hanako for a little bit, and like he's talking about everybody, this definitely feels like this was like supposed to be the starter route. Because like they're the first two girls you meet, right? It feels like you're kind of going through like everybody. And we saw Kenji, like Kenji even had a moment where we saw, and there's a lot more art in this route, I feel, than like in Rin and Hanako's. So it just feels like this is like the route that was like made to be like sort of the whole game. It feels like everyone's getting their little slots in, which is pretty cool. I wonder if we're gonna get like an Emmy and Rin thing when we go back to the school. Yeah. You are also interesting. Is that bad? What's with the tone? What does that even mean? What are you saying? I'm weird, Hideki? You talk a lot. Okay, my first instinct is to go on the defensive, but I think more about it, and he has a point. That's right. I do talk a lot. I don't think I used to. I think it's probably because of all the time I spent around Shizune and Misha, talking with them. I get caught up in all their circular logic and just how they do everything. I feel like I'm going to be drowned out or left behind. My sister can drown you out. It's not like she's literally talking over me and stuff, obviously. It's hard to explain. They have more energy than I do. It's like an aggressiveness. I don't feel like I have to match it, but I want to, and I think maybe your sister has that effect on people. Do you look up to your sister? He stares at me blankly, tense and confused on how to react to the question. I'll be better than Shizune. Better at what? At everything. Like what? I can do magic tricks. You mean like telling people you've got their nose and that kind of magic where you pull a rabbit out of your ass? He doesn't look happy. Someday I will see Hideki laugh. I might just try tickling him if I have to. The back door flies open and Jigoro strides out of it, keeping his back straight and taking giant, slow, regal strides like either a king or a huge jackass. I try to turn away, using the train of logic that I can't see him, he can't see me. Unfortunately, it doesn't pan out, and he comes over so fast that he appeared out of the air at my shoulder. Oh, what's up here? What are you two doing? Playing your hands around? Playing cat's cradle like a bunch of girls? I'm teaching Hideki some sign language. What about you, Mr. Hakamichi? He narrows his eyes suspiciously, as if he's not used to people trying to be polite to him. I'm writing an autobiography of my life and times, and by writing, I mean I am dictating it to my biographer. Fortunately, she is running late. Unprofessional. Perhaps you should read it when it's published later this year. I could put you on the waiting list. Maybe it'll give it to you the moral compass that you seem to lack in your life, and inspire you to stop sucking. It can't be sustainable for him to be so casually insulting to everyone, though Hideki is likely too detached to even notice. Shizune is deaf, and most of the insults must fly over Misha's head, but surely Akira must have an opinion on this. I try not to think about it. If he is doing it to psych me out, then I have to stay calm, or he wins. He must absolutely, definitely not win. This must be how Shizune feels. How old are you? 46. That doesn't seem old enough to justify writing a biography. I mean, that's not even old. Don't people start writing their memoirs a lot later than that? Shut up, boy. I'm gonna give you some advice. Do not talk about matters of age with people older than you. You are less than half my age. You have no right to talk about old. I have an ulcer. Older than you. He should get that checked out. He might have a point, though. He is definitely older than I am. Either way, if we are the same age, I wouldn't have to explain myself to you, sweater vest. Ugh. Why do you make that noise? Are you mad? Well, obviously. Good. Your sweater is terrible. I want you to feel bad about it. The burn tells me it's working. I like my sweater. I'm sure you like huffing glue, too. Pussy. That doesn't make it right. I don't huff glue. Where'd you get that impression that I do? That is slander. I wonder how much Hideki knows what slander is. Maybe Jigoro is a lawyer. I can sort of see that, although I've only thought of TV lawyers were antagonistic. Or this antagonistic. I don't know if I should take the chance to ask if that's his job. He's right, it is slander. Are you a lawyer? I was guessing. A guess based on the fact that you're stupid. It's like how you're assuming that I'm a lawyer, except you have no reason to think that. If you want to know what I do so badly, why don't you pre-order my autobiography? Now you're insulting my book, and by extension my entire life. What gives you the right to do that? Arrogant. Thinking how I can make you understand my struggle. Maybe by beating you with my autobiography. Hope you walk away from this beating having learned a valuable lesson, like making assumptions. Assault. You made an assumption too, like I huffed glue. I considered calling him out on his glaring example of hypocrisy, but I don't think it's worth it. He would probably explain his way out by saying, "If I shut up, boy." Oh boy. Back in my day, children were seen and not heard. To be an adult meant having experienced many hardships. With even a glance, people would instantly judge a man's character. Childhood existed to temper you for adulthood. When you look at me, can you not see the catalog of my experiences, even at a glance? Were you a sword fighter? You could also be Hawaiian, and a werewolf. Wait, didn't you tell me before not to make assumptions? Now you're asking me to assume stuff. You're saying that everyone, when my age, did it, and that has to be like the 80s. That wasn't even that long ago. When was this game based? I mean, I guess the 2000s, maybe? Because 80s he would have been 10? Right? Yeah. Because he would be, growing up in the 80s now, 40 years ago. I am ready to give him a piece of my mind for talking like he had walked 15 miles in the snow to ride a coal train, then he had to shovel coal into it himself before climbing up a mountain where fighting ogres to get to school. But now that I finally want to fight, Shigoro's happy to have a good thing going, just to continue to ramble about how difficult it was growing up over one generation ago, twirling his sword like a baton, stopping occasionally to yawn or check the time. The tardiness of his autobiographer is still the foremost in his mind. That means the whole time he's been insulting me, he must have just been doing it to pass the time. To add insult to insult, his watch is also really nice. When I was your age, kids had responsibilities, not like today. It's sickening. No one thinks about the consequences of their own actions anymore. They might just do whatever they want, thinking no one will hold them accountable since they're so young. It's odd. That description could fit Shizune and Misha. Thought something similar only yesterday, but it only fits them slightly. Look at yourself, an immoral, directionless, delinquent glue huffer with a complete lack of etiquette and absolutely no fashion sense. You're tomorrow's Japan. Disgraceful. Is this the continue of this once great country? Man, what is happening? I know someone you would get along well with. Don't interrupt. Who? One of your friends? Why would I want to take to some awful teenager? You even listening? Why are you so rude, boy? Your attitude is not one that'll make you a lot of friends. I wish you would stop giving me so much advice. Or at least I wish that he would give me advice that I would have the decency to adhere to himself. Where have you been? Huh? Not you, idiot. Oops, I didn't notice you here. Shizune smiles and gives a short wave. Her arrival made Jigoro stop talking, so I'm already happy to see her for that reason alone. Misha and I decided to go into town again. Isao, I noticed you were looking at some clothes yesterday in a store window, and I thought I would go back to buy some of them for you. It was supposed to be a surprise, though. She looks annoyed that the surprise is ruined, even though she ruined it herself. Here you go. Thanks. Misha wanted to cut her hair. I told her not to, but she said it was too hot for the summer. Yeah? I don't know if that makes a lot of sense to me. It must be like an oven under there. I want to see it. Where's Misha, anyway? Over here. Hi, Hichan. Oh, God, she cut her hair. She's not going to have drills anymore. She's going to look normal? Over here. Hi, Hichan. Hi, Mr. Shichan's father. Hi, Hideki. Oop, I clicked off. No. Okay, we're good. Whoa. She's cute. God damn, she doesn't look right. She has so much like free space where the drills were. It doesn't fit. Her body looks so much like bigger now that her hair is small. It doesn't matter though. She's super cute. Misha runs around once in a wide circle before stopping next to Shizune. For the first time, she hasn't put her hands over my eyes, although now I see she has bags of her own to carry. So it's not like she could have, even if she wanted to. Although I'm positive she tried before. Her meticulously styled curls are now gone, in favor for a much shorter, sportier look. Misha looks even happier than usual, probably because she knows that she won't have to wake up the crack of dawn every morning just to do her hair. What is that haircut? You look like an intern. Your old haircut merely made you look like you were wearing a pink judge wig. Judge to an intern is a huge demotion. Isao, is he saying something insulting? Tell him to not insult my friends. Do not insult my friends. Which one of you is talking? Both of us. I agree with her. What do you think, Hichan? You should have kept it like it was. Aw, Hichan, you look disappointed. You don't like it either? Well, yeah, I'll admit I kind of liked your old haircut more, but I think this one's nice. It suits you. Oh, thanks, Hichan. Touching. If you like it so much, maybe you should do trade. You can't trade a haircut. What a shame. Even her old haircut would suit you much more than your current slacker haircut. Awful. As for you. Actually, this is much more garish than your other haircut. I like it. Really? Thanks, Mr. Shizune's dad. Mr. Hakamichi, talk like a normal person. Miss. Oh. I don't understand. Okay. I'll call you Mr. Hakamichi. Oh, Mr. Okay, he was. Yeah, gotcha. I forget. I don't know if we know Misha's last name, because I remember Muto calling her Hakamichi, but he was talking about Shizune. But we thought it was Misha. I don't know Misha's last name. It's like speaking to a slide whistle. Contemptible. Where's my biographer? Hideki. He starts quietly muttering to himself and walks off. I guess a wannabe cranky old man like Jigoro would at the very least be hesitant to yell at girls. Suddenly, he doubles back, unable to resist his urge to have the last word. And another thing, you should not be so loud. It's like, I don't like being shouted at. I'm not shouting. I'm not shouting. I can't think of anyone more unqualified to talk about the garish or to chastise someone about shouting at people. It's like a parade of hypocrisies, and it's just keep coming. An unusual reaction seems to be taking place. Misha apparently finds Jigoro funny and laughs pretty much at everything he says, something, which only makes him berate her harder. I guess is what they call a vicious circle. Misha's voice is punctuated with explosions of laughter and seems to come from everywhere. On the other hand, Jigoro's is booming and directed like a cannon. In any case, they are both unbelievably loud. The more they talk to each other, the more they seem to play off each other's volume and get louder. Oh, my ears hurt. Why are you shouting? Shizune's hands wrap up around my eyes from behind, something I'm used to. Misha doing that for the first time, I find myself confused by it, since Misha is in front of me. She lets go and holds her finger up to her lips. What a perfect distraction. Now's our opportunity. Let's sneak off. Why do we have to sneak off, not just walk off? It wouldn't be as fun. It's decided. It's a secret mission. Escape without being detected. Extract Hideki for bonus points. Already, she has simplified the situation into a game. Shizune quietly slides away from the scene and begins edging towards the house. I walk towards it normally. Are we gonna have like a little love scene really quick? Oh, but Misha, we don't know where Misha's at. What if she sees what we're saying? You can't be quiet. You can't be quiet with sign language. You could see it from a mile away, dude. I can't find Shizune at first, but eventually she walks into the main part of the house, sipping a glass of ice water and dangling her glasses back and forth from her face with a free hand. We're gonna see her without glasses. She whips them on as soon as she sees me. Oh. You didn't rescue Hideki. That means you didn't get the bonus points. If you were also being graded on style, I'd have to deduct points for a boring escape. It looked like you wanted to talk to me, and I didn't know how to be stylish about it. You know, some say that the most stylish people are the ones who don't try to look hard to look cool. You're really cool. Wait, sorry, I messed that up so bad. You know, some say that the most stylish people are the ones who don't try to look hard to look cool. You're really cool. I wonder how that is I could pick up her sarcasm so easily. How hard it might be for her to learn the concept of sarcasm without being able to hear. I can't imagine it. You seem like you're in a good mood. Although I guess it isn't really a good mood, it's more that she seems very excited. I'm in a bad mood. Setting down her drink, Shizune sits down on the couch. I liked her regular hairstyle so much more. It looked so pretty. It was refined and meticulous. Now she looks sporty and tomboyish. I wouldn't call Misha refined and meticulous. That sounds more like you. You should give it a chance. Grow out your hair. More like, make it look like the drills. Actually, maybe this suits you fine. Shizune rubs the frame of her glasses roughly, looking annoyed at the implications behind what I just signed to her. That's fine, because I was totally implying that. Damn. She moves a little closer to me when I take a seat. I'm a tomboy? Well, no one would call you a tomboy, based on appearances. Shizune glares at me unamused. I have to fight to keep a straight face. Maybe you two should trade haircuts anyway. You sound like my father. It's true, Shizune giggles noiselessly. As she sees my displeasure at the realization, jumping to her feet, she twirls an invisible sword in her left hand while standing up militarily straight and grimacing. Terrifyingly accurate expression. Anyway, I don't take advice from someone who wears a blue sweater with brown pants. What's your sense of color coordination? Dreadful. But changing my haircut, that might be fun, wouldn't it be? I want to see how everyone would react. I must really like playing with people. Sometimes I think a little too much. No answer. The way she fiddles her glasses, brow furrowed, tells me that it's because she can't. It's fun. Then with more confidence, while pulling herself closer to me. It's fun to drag more and more people into my life. Oh, I see. I wonder if I'm included in that number. I want to ask, but I'm not sure how I would. Shizune wags a finger preemptively, indicating that she won't be answering such a question anyway. She reaches for her glass, but doesn't seem to realize how far she's managed to inch away from it all this time. To prevent herself from tipping over clumsily, Shizune tries to grab onto me and ends up pulling me on top of her. Ooh, this is bad. Her dad could kill us. As I lean over her, I can feel the heat coming off her body and realize how close we are. I could hear her soft breathing, the slight rustling of her clothes as she momentarily fidgets about. A blush starts to creep onto her cheeks, but her eyes stare straight into mine, dark and unblinking. It's the same look from the first time I saw her, piercing and devoid of any clear emotions, just waiting to see what will happen next. Like the eyes of a cat. It makes me uncomfortable, being looked at in such a way. This is the first time I've been so close to her for an extended period of time, and the mood is different now. The situation isn't about a passing touching of her hands, or her and Misha's usual games. Shizune's fingers weave together tentatively, but she makes no move to sign. The look in her eyes isn't just nothing, like I thought. It's more like an expectation. I wonder if I've been following the string of her expectations this entire time. I feel her grabbing me by the shoulders and then gently, but firmly pushing me off her. I roll sideways onto the soft couch, pulling myself into a sitting position, much less than a foot from her. The way I feel, she might as well have thrown me 10 yards. When I think about it, this is perhaps one of the biggest drawbacks to sign language. Shizune said that the fact that you have to sign your words out with your hands means you have the time to reflect on what you have to say before you say it. But on the other hand, it also means that what would normally just be an awkward silence becomes an insurmountable wall. I just blurt out something, anything, to try and dispel the tension I'm feeling right now if I could, but I can't. Ordinarily, I think that would be normal, would be to apologize and maybe leave. But right now, I wonder if that's even applicable. I can't even can't get past how guilty such an action would seem, like I were slinking away. Of course, it's not like I can just play it off like nothing happened either. That would be too insulting for both of us, so as much as I don't want to, I apologize quickly, so quickly I forget to sign it, and then go back to my room. Oh, did he just pass out? Sighing, I let myself fall backwards onto the bed. I wish I could just go to sleep right now, but I feel wide awake. Shizune? Ooh, okay. I sit up when I hear the door closing in my eyes to see Shizune sitting on the chair in front of me. She asks a question that goes right over my head due to my surprise. It's not a good feeling that I'm good at concealing. I don't think it's what she intended. Whatever she was saying, she backs off and doesn't attempt to sign for a while. This is the first time I've been in your room. Well, this is your house. Shizune tenses her fingers, puts on an exaggerated attempt to make herself look embarrassed and modest at the thought. I can't appreciate the joke, just the fact that she's been here makes me feel a bit scattered. Very funny. It isn't even my room, it's your guest room. Besides, you and Misha barged into my room once before. It seems she expects me to say more. I remember feeling very panicked when they burst into my room, afraid of what conclusions they would jump to seeing my well of pills lining the place. Wall. Jeez. I don't think that Shizune remembers, though. I need to take a sip of coffee. My throat is killing me. It made you nervous. The way she says it so factually stings me. A lot of things make me nervous. You're one of them. Because you're overeager to always get people involved in whatever you're doing. Whether it's joining the student council or even taking a break. Whether they want to or not. She signs almost at a crawl, her hands pausing mid-sentence far too much, causing the words to dissipate formlessly before I can even begin to try to understand them. I try not to let on that this is the case. It seems to work, but she looks a little sad, and I regret that I have nothing to say to snap her from the strangely wistful and distant expression she is wearing. All I can do is wait for her to come out of it. You're right. She looks sad. Oh. I want to drag everyone into my life, but lately, I'm no longer sure if this is the right thing to do. I enjoyed you taking me to your favorite restaurant the other night. It's not like that was my favorite restaurant. I have others I like. I might not even be able to rank them by number. Really. This chair is so hard, I want to sit down on the bed. Motioning her to go ahead, I wait for her to get off the chair and take her place where she does, though I didn't intend for it to be. She finds it amusing. Close your eyes. Why? It's a surprise. She gonna sit on her lap? What's up? I decide to humor her and close them. I feel her leaning over me. Suddenly something soft and moist touches my lips. My body tenses up in surprise. Fortunately, not as awkward as a reaction as I could have made. It was just a quick peck, and I almost think that's the end of it. But then she kisses me again, more deeply this time. Her hands slide onto my shoulders, up to my neck, and then back down again. Then across my shoulders, down my arms. I don't know if this is a... Hold on. I have to make this disclaimer. I don't know if this is a sex scene, but if you have not seen the previous series of Hanako and Rin, we do censor the sex scenes because I don't know about YouTube. It's weird. That's all. But this might not be a sex scene. It seems a little early, but maybe. I can feel the weight of her body on my legs, and the eroticism of the situation isn't lost on me. At this point, I'm ready to try and open my eyes. Just a crack, but as if expecting it, she puts her fingers on my eyelids. Seconds later, something ties my hands together at the wrists. Yo, Shizune is cracked. And I panic, not knowing what to make of this. My first thought is to ask Shizune what she's thinking, even though she can't hear me. I'm sure she gets the gist of it. Also, you can't talk when she ties up your hands. She won't let go of my hands, tracing her fingers over them, from the lines of my palms over my knuckles into my wrists. Yo, what are you doing? What is this? Why did she tie me up in a chair? She looks really cute, though. Of course, with my hands tied behind my back. I might as well be gagged. Part of me can't help but think that this is what she intended. As if reading my thoughts, a mischievous expression lights up on her face. But her blushing doesn't fade. In fact, it only deepens when our eyes meet. Her little cat face, she's so cute. Embarrassed, she leans deeper into our partial embrace, hiding her face, burying it in my shoulder and neck. Her hair is soft. It tickles me. And I let out a laugh, knowing that she can't hear me and won't be offended. I think she could feel it if her hand is on your chest, or her head is on her chest. Anywhere, really. There's no way she doesn't know you're laughing. Shizune's hands move downwards towards the fly of my pants. Okay, I guess we are fucking. Covered by her skirt, her hands disappear from view, only to jerk back on touching my erection. Shizune almost falls off of me from nervousness. It's like she didn't expect it to be there. The sudden display of naivety in the starkest contrast yet how forward she has been so far, I find it amusing. Suddenly she seems very immature again, a high school girl playing the role of a more aggressive woman. She pokes at my penis curiously with her index finger, her face reddening as she runs the rest of her fingers down and at its underside. Her movements are soft and curious. They belly the embarrassed look on her face. It's likely Shizune is as nervous as I am. I hope she locked the door because this is her house and her dad could snap me like a twig. Also, is Misha just chilling? She feels like she would be looking for us at this point. So I'm a bit relieved when she stops exploratory prodding, but then I think about what's next to come. I clicked off. Jeez. Okay. She might try and unbutton my shirt. Who knows what she would say, seeing the scar on my chest. I'm self-conscious about it, and I can't imagine the concern on her face seeing it, the tenting of her fingers and thought. Luckily, in this position, she couldn't take off my sweater without ripping it off me, and that the fear fades from my mind. Now I'm only experiencing a strange, uncomfortable mix of anticipation and nervousness. A newfound lightness on my knees brings back to reality, and I can see that Shizune is standing on the tips of her toes to slide down her underwear, down her thighs. When she sees me looking at her, she tries to cover my eyes with one hand. I wonder exactly when it was that I started being attracted to her. Not just attracted to her physically, but drawn to her. And I wonder why. She's pretty, but then also very combative. Not just that, but she seems to like being that way. Just make sure we can't see anything here. The way she's acting now, however, at other times, she doesn't really fit that image. I'm starting to think that maybe tying my hands might have been for the most obvious. Still, that aggressiveness that flashes around comfortably as a business card is real. I don't know whether or not that kind of attitude would be considered dangerous. If it is, I wonder what kind of person that makes me. It was probably the first week I was here. The week that... You don't need to say this out loud, because there are other people in this house that can hear you. She can't. It doesn't matter what you say. You're only making it a little more hard, a little more like easy to be noticed. It was probably the first week I was here. A week that doesn't sound so long when I think about it, but at the time I did. It did. Even though I pretty much thought my days were numbered that week, it still seemed to go by slowly. Even if she can't hear me, it puts me at ease. I started to realize that I didn't have much to complain about, but there's still... Oh, never mind. She glances at me for no reason other than I'm talking. She can't understand what I'm saying. Shizune becomes increasingly flustered, but doesn't sign anything in reply. Shizune sucks in her breath sharply as she lowers herself onto my penis, trying to keep herself up tight as she teeters on top of me. Also, we don't have, just for reference, again, we don't have a condom. We had a condom with Rin, or Hanako. We had a condom with Hanako off rip in our back pocket. We are not protected right now. This is not safe. The skirt of her dress covers both of our intimate parts as she traps our body heat under it like a tent. Under it, I feel unbearably hot, and Shizune, hand guiding me into her, only adds up to it. Sorry, that was the most awkward way I could have said that. The second that I penetrate her, Shizune winces, that nearly falls on top of me. If we fall in this chair, my dick is broken. The sudden sensation is mind-numbing, and I feel waves of pleasure radiate through me from both ends of my body. It feels as if my entire lower body is enveloped in warmth and the wetness of Shizune's body, able to feel her every twitch and shudder as she starts moving. Shizune begins rocking her hips back and forth, at first slowly, but with her tempo increasing each time. She pulls herself almost completely off of me, only to plunge back down at the last second. Again, I think that this would be very loud, considering that chair doesn't seem to not make noise. Being so close to her, I could see that the sweat beating down her skin, and the fog that forms on her glasses when they slide down her nose, stick too close to her mouth. She pushes them back up. Her fingertips press onto my shoulders, holding them to steady herself, pushing against them to pull herself onto me, and then running down my arms, grasping for my wrists and my hand as she pulls herself back down. Maneuvering around like this is difficult at best. Shizune tries to brace herself against me while pushing herself up and down with her feet. I attempt to kiss her, but only manage to succeed in touching our foreheads together, at least not painfully. My thoughts wander briefly to whether or not the door is locked. If it were open now, I'd probably have a heart attack. Literally. Yeah, and die. Then there's the other question of who would be opening the door. The sense of danger only serves to make Shizune's movements more torturous. I wish she would speed up, but from this position it may not even seem possible. I start moving my hips upwards in rhythm with her, trying to drive myself deeper into her. It doesn't matter to me that my movements are shaking the chair that we're on, creating a loud knock on the wooden chair wraps against the wooden floor. That's what I was worried about. Sorry. I was like, I wonder if like she sounds different than like the voice I'm giving her like in our head, because that's like our interpretation of what Shizune sounds like. But what if she just sounds weird? Because she's deaf too, so she's gonna be loud. Like she would be making a lot of noise and not notice. Her breathing grows louder, and even sounds like suppressed moans escape her throat. Though it's obvious that she wants to hold them in, they're still loud enough that they would be audible to anyone standing outside the door. I stop thrusting into Shizune partly because it's harder to keep up with her as she starts getting more and more into it and moving faster than I can manage to match while under her. She's making it a competition. She wants to go faster. Ooh, that's not good. My heart races so quickly and I can almost hear the blood pounding into my temples, and more worryingly, I can feel the dull throb in my chest. I can't stop thinking about the pressure I feel between my thighs, if only for a moment. A heart attack. That moment, though, is enough. Combined with the tightness of her squeezing herself around me and the sensation of her skin rubbing against mine, I tense up and fire off inside Shizune, a fleeting feeling of power and fight. Afterwards, I listen to the sound of my heartbeat slowing down until it reaches a normal rhythm. I listen to the sound of Shizune's breathing as it does the same. This is the first sex scene we didn't have to censor. That's hype. You guys saw the whole thing. Are you happy? Her glasses are slightly askew. This is the first time she isn't messing around with them in some way. I want to straighten them for her, but the second I try, I'm reminded that I can't. Shizune seems to have forgotten as well. Instead of getting up, she presses herself against me in the chair to extend its reach. It's almost as if this is the only position she could think of to untie my hands from. Yeah, that is what I think as feel her unbinding my wrists. However, she doesn't seem to get off me. Her fingers gently stroke against mine, occasionally bending inwards to run over my palms. It's funny, but I feel more connected to Shizune through this simple act than before. I just... I'll wait till after the sex scene. Shizune stays pressed against me for some time. It's a little uncomfortable, but it makes me feel happy. As if I could stay like this for hours. Okay. Well, that's the end of the episode. But I will say that I feel like we didn't connect with her as well as the other girls. Like with Hanako, right? She was such a slow burn because she was so nervous about it, the whole thing. And I think we only had the one sex scene with her, but like she felt like it was a very like long, slow, I don't want to say slow burn, but it was a slow burn process of a story to lead up to this very beautiful love scene that was like, but we broke down our barriers, right? Because there was this like building tension of like, what happened to you? This is what happened to you. This is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. This is what happened to you. Where it was like we slowly brought down her walls, and then she was like trying to dig at Hisao's, and very slowly brought down Hisao's until they both were like, this is me, these are my scars, this is my scar, and then they embraced in like a very loving way. Rin was sort of the same, kind of, in that we were sort of like in this toxic relationship, but we were still in it, where we were like, hey, I really like you, and she was like, I can't do that right now, even though she was into us, sort of, I think, maybe, but she couldn't because she had to focus on her work. But then eventually, right, the smoking scene, was that the first love scene? No, the first love scene was like when she was torturing herself, right? She was jerking off. That was still like a very toxic part of the thing, where it was like we were still into her, but she couldn't be with us, but then we were like, we're just gonna fuck anyway. That was like a very human scene, because you don't normally see scenes like that in like normal TV and stuff, because in normal TV and stuff they're just like, this is a couple, they fuck sometimes, or maybe they hate each other and then they kind of fuck sometimes. That was a very real, like, we're friends but like we're kind of attracted to each other, and then we like fuck a little, and then it's like after it's like it's really awkward, it's weird, until eventually it was brought up into that scene where she came walking to our room in the rain. And then, you know, at that point we already had like a bunch of fights, and it was this very real, like we had a bunch of fights, but then like we're still into each other, and then we made love, and then it was like this still, hey, you know, are we a thing now? And it's like, yeah, I think so. This one is different, right? Because I think he's more just raw attracted to Shizune because she's, you know, naturally cuter, because she doesn't have burns and she has all of her limbs. No, that's fucked up to say, but I'm just trying to be realistic here. So he's like more physically attracted to her, but like, and I guess he hated the personality of the other two, I guess, didn't he? That he kind of had to like build up trust. He doesn't really hate Shizune like he did the other two. He hated Hanako, and he hated Rin. He was scared for Hanako, and he was trying to protect her, so it was a little different. But I guess Shizune is the only person that he's like raw liked, and plus she's attractive, so he's never been like, I don't know, it's weird because she doesn't have arms. And he's like trying really hard to communicate with her, I guess, too. So it is sort of this like build up. But at the same time, the point that I was getting at is that before we, and again, I guess this wasn't Hisao's choice. He was sort of just put in that situation. Obviously, he couldn't say no. Actually, wouldn't that be considered? He didn't have the choice to say no. I know they're in a consenting relationship, but she really did tie up his hands, and he has no way to communicate to her that might not have been what he wanted. That's a little risky. Anyway, still, the point is, like, we barely talked to Shizune. Like, very, very barely talked to Shizune. And we never had, like, an intimate conversation with her. The only intimate conversation we had was the will you be my girlfriend, and then we hugged, and then that was it. We came here, right? We never had, like, any boyfriend-girlfriend interactions like we did with Hanako, and, like, when we went on the date and we gave her gifts and stuff. Or when we went with Rin, they had, like, those like, really deep conversations and, like, figuring ourselves out type shit. We don't have any of that with Shizune. We haven't done anything to imply that we're like doing anything. So it's a little strange, I feel. But anyway, thanks for watching. I need to go for now. Hopefully I will be able to get in another recording session soon. Next day or two. Today or tomorrow. I don't know. Anyway, goodbye. Thank you for watching. Hopefully we'll see each other again soon.